Alright, we're starting. Hi, listener. That's how I like to start a podcast. This is Artductive, a podcast about understanding meaningful stuff and how to apply to your life. It's probably going to be some sort of self-help podcast, even though I don't like that label, because self-help is used in many different ways. So it can talk about some stuff about religion and science, and which is pretty different stuff, and it can be still under the word self-help. So that's why I don't like that word. But anyway, it's just you have to label it some way or another. I didn't introduce myself. This is Carlos speaking, and I'm here on the other side with my buddy Joel.
Hi, Carlos. How are you today?
Good. I'm still a bit tired because I woke up pretty early today. We're recording at 9 a.m. in the morning, and it's not my most productive peak of the day. But anyway, what are we talking about today? You know it, Joel?
I heard it was something about creativity, right?
Yeah, creativity. You know what creativity means?
Well, I have an idea, but I'd appreciate, and the audience will appreciate as well, if you could do a little introduction on the topic.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I just looked for it on Wikipedia. It means creating. I mean, creativity. It can be described as creating something new that didn't exist before, bringing new stuff to the world. Just to summarize it. So, and why this is good? You may be asking yourself, because I mean, we all have an intuition that being creative is good, but let's try to go into deep into our psyche and try to figure out why. I think it's good first if you look at us in a collective way, seeing the human species. It's good because creating new stuff is pushing humanity forwards. It's expanding the mankind limits, because if several individuals are being creative, then you have a collective group of people doing something and bringing something new, and then that's how society evolves. Do you agree with me?
Yes, totally. And I would further say that creativity is one thing that actually prevents society from breaking apart and actually brings us together to a common goal in some sort of weird way.
Okay. And also, we've talked about collective, but I think you can also say it in an individual way. Why creativity is good for you, and what if you were more creative? Well, I think that creativity can be developed in, it's a general skill, but it can be developed in many different areas of your life. Like, for example, your social life. If you were more creative, you would be more spontaneous, or you can make more jokes, or know when to say the right thing and stand up for other people, or how to say the right thing right said. Having that kind of repetition there. And also, you can think about it in the workplace, because I think most valued people nowadays in this kind of society are the problem solvers, the ones that know how to tackle a problem and how to be able to split it into pieces and how to solve it. And also, if you're into art, I mean, creativity is the most important skill you may have. So we can agree that creativity can improve your conditions of living. Do you think there's something missing, Yo? Something that I should mention?
I mean, not much more regarding this topic, but we could expand a little bit more regarding creativity as a practical thing. I think we said enough for now in regards to the theoretical part. So let's dive a little bit deeper in concerns to how can we use creativity to solve things.
Yeah, I understand. Like, you're one of the most practical people I know. Okay, yeah, but I know. But one thing is that about creativity, I feel, is that it brings you to the state of flow. You know, the state of the rest of the world disappearing and being you along with something, with your skill you're doing. For example, let's talk, if you're a piano player, you are just focused playing the piano on the rest of the world disappears, and you are one with the instrument, let's say, because you're just focused. And I think that I see there a taste of happiness, man, of being really focused on something you like. And I think that's one of the, for me, that's the main goal of how and why you should be practical with creativity. Because I like to, I mean, we are as human beings, we want happiness, and I like to experience that happiness more often. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think we should get practical on it. Okay, so what's the first idea you have to be practical with creativity?
To be practical, I think one great idea to implement in everybody's routine, or something we could all do, is um, organize your life. It can be paradoxical, right? But it's about organizing your life regarding creativity. Because when we think of creativity, a lot of times we think of it as something hippie-ish, because it's something that kind of pops out in your mind, or at least that's how I portrayed it,
Okay.
like some kind of intuition. So I'm about to give the idea to give some other perspective to
All
to
right.
the audience. I think it's important to organize and craft your life so that you can be more creative, and that concerns habits.
Yeah, I mean, habits are important for everything.
What do you think can be said on that topic regarding habits and creativity?
More important than habits, I mean, developing having habits is important, but I like to focus on the main problem here, and it's something that I learned reading the book The World of Art. That basically, that book, if I had to summarize it, it's just the whole book talking about some inner force you have in yourself, some psychological inner force, which is called resistance, and it's that resistance that you have to create new things. Uh, for example, if you want to be a writer, let's say, you feel like you want to be a writer and you want to have your story written, but when it comes to writing, you may say that I don't have time today for it, or even one thing that one friend that I had used to do. That I had a friend that wanted to be a writer, and he had a really cool story for a novel, actually, and he was writing it, but he stopped writing, and I asked himself why, and he said, well, creativity is just not coming to my head, and I wouldn't force things. I will just let my creativity appear when it should appear. And I think that's the wrong approach, because creativity is something that you have to seek. You have to have the habit to sit yourself on a table, on a chair, and think about something that you want to about the thing that you're into. Like if you were writing, you should sit and start to write, even though it's shit what you're writing, because you should go and seek creativity. It's like fishing. You have to sit and throw the rod and just wait for a fish to appear. There may be some days where you see no fish coming, and that's totally fine. But the thing is that if you don't sit and try to seek for it, there are going to be no results for you, and you're not gonna write anything or create anything in whatever your craft it is. You know?
Totally, totally. So I like to think that you focus a little bit more on the practical thing, because this can get a little bit airy-fairy. So we were talking about creativity as a skill. What kind of habits or what kind of things can we implement in order to be more creative, and in order to in order for our creativity to slush up and just start showing up daily?
Well, as I've said, the first one would be sitting and pushing yourself to do it every day. That's pretty important. And another thing that I would say is that first go through a process of learning and immersion in whatever skill you're trying to develop. Like there are three stages of mastering of a skill. First, you know the rules, then you break the rules, and then when you already have enough knowledge, you can even make the rules of that thing. So the first thing that I would say is watch others. Watch other people that are pretty good at what you aim to be good at. If you want to, let's say, be a musical producer, just listen to other producers and listen closely to what sounds are they using, so you can try to look for similar sounds and mix them and create your own new sound. Or if you wanna be better at fighting, watch people that are good at fighting and try to imitate their movements. That's something that it's pretty fundamental, because at the end of the day, creativity is having something that already exists, combining that with another thing that already exists, and then bringing something new. So if you are watching other people that are good at that, and you have many people that inspire you in that skill, in that craft, and you pick your 10 favorite piano players, and you try to imitate them, and then combining all the things, all the lessons that they give you, you are able to create your own sound. And of course that comes with a lot of practice. That's not something that you get in a day, but that's what we're trying to talk about here, to making the effort and develop that habit, right?
That is so true, and that, yeah, and that is something that I want to thank you for putting it into words. Since I had this always in my mind, but I've never put it into words, and now I feel that I can apply it more, just because of the fact that you put it into words.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for that, really. Yeah, I think everyone has their different, let's say everyone has their different thing that they're aiming to be good at. So that's why I think it's complicated to give specific advice, because it's not the same to give advice for someone who wants to be a web designer to someone that wants to be a better public speaker, for example. Every craft has their different kind of habit and skills that you have to develop. So I'd see that whatever you want to develop, whatever art you want to develop, you should also try to look for developing skills in that thing, very specific skills, so you can combine them all together. So you're prepared for creativity. You know what I mean? You cannot create a masterpiece on playing the guitar if you do not know how to play the basic songs. And when you learn to play the basic songs, you should know different skills like finger picking, or how to strum properly, or how to do some percussion with your hand, right? Or if you want to be a web developer, you should know how to program different websites with different platforms, for example, and look what is best for you, and then experiment with different designs. And yeah, and I couldn't tell you because I've never tried web developing, but you kind of know, you kind of get into the point.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I like that you brought up the fact that getting around those bottlenecks as soon as possible actually can help you to be more creative.
Everyone has their own thing. If you wanna be a music composer, you can do several stuff like trying to differentiate into different music intervals, so you can have better musical ear. And when you listen to something, you can say, okay, that note there was C, and then there was a D, and that was the interval there. So yeah, and you are more fluid with that. Or if you want to become a writer, you should learn about grammar, of course. Then it's a really good idea that you invest your time in just doing some research about psychology, so you can create a solid villain in your story or a solid hero. It's good that you investigate also about the hero's journey. And also marketing. if you want to be a good writer, then you like that your story has good marketing, so you should learn about marketing too. You see, there's a whole bunch of skills that you can develop to get that final taste and that final product that you want to create with your craft. So you should, I think, to put it into a summarized way, I'd say that you have to develop many different skills. So when you have them all together, you're ready for creativity. You're ready for being creative and breaking the rules, as I said before, in that in that list of 3 stages of mastery. And then when you break them, you experiment and you can see some patterns and even make the rules in that own game. And I see that I think I haven't got into that point in my life with any skill of that I've tried to learn, or I have, but not in a really deep way. But all the small experiences that I've had with that, those are pretty beautiful moments when you create something that is your own, that it just came from you, and that's something that we all should be aiming for. Doesn't matter if it's your job or it's just a hobby that you use to enjoy your time. It's something that we should be definitely pointing to. What's your opinion on that?
So beautifully put. I'm so impressed. I mean, you did a really good job explaining that. So I think what I can do right now is really synthesize that to kind of simplify it for the viewers a little bit, because we actually diverge a lot from the from the script, let's say, right? So let's just tackle that down a little bit. So if we want to synthesize that, sure. So if we like to synthesize that, we'd rather say, in order to be really effective on being creative, we should first learn about a bunch of things, aka being more of a generalist or of a ranger, so that then we can specify. So our kind of creativity diagram will go like, first we'll learn about a couple things, a couple vertebral skills that will help us to not help us, but it will avoid bottlenecks in our journey. So first we'll learn about marketing, we'll learn about speaking, we'll learn about how to search the web and some other skills, and then we can go ahead and kind of thin our path, or kind of focus on public speaking or whatever your craft is, and then we broaden up again, and we learn more, and we get more advanced on different topics, auxiliary but necessary topics, and then so that we can specialize further. Is that it's so beautiful? I'm just imagining an infinity sign infinitely drawn on a diagram.
What do you mean with the bottlenecks, when you find bottlenecks?
Put this podcast, like take this example that I'm going to tell you. This podcast, if you want to grow this podcast, first you gotta practice of course, you gotta have foundation in public speaking and all.
We don't grow this podcast, then we're gonna show the audience that we're not good giving advice. But yeah, but just continue, man.
Well, that's a good one for you. You know,
Yeah,
we
sure.
have some motivation. We have some external motivation to work on. So, in order to do this podcast, we need to start by first.
Wait, I'm gonna write that down. Learn how to talk.
talk.
Okay.
First of all, well, we need to master a couple things on a basic level. Well, if you're 2 year old, but you can just practice a little bit more, you can use this podcast as some external motivation. So, just to sum it up, I'd like to move on to different topics. So, we need to learn some basic skills like audio editing. Basic, like we gotta stay focused, so we need to practice focus. We need to master a couple of vertebral skills, so that we can be more specific on what we're doing at the moment, so that we can broaden
I have a
up
question.
again, just to
Well, finish and I'll ask
get
you a
through the
question.
bottlenecks. The whole point of broadening up again is just to avoid bottlenecks and just to save time later.
Yeah, well, I had a question for you. Sorry. So, do you want me to answer your question, and then I ask you mine? So okay, so what was the thing about bottlenecks? Because and the connection is a bit. Actually, my phone is saying connection. It's mediocre. So there was some part where I hear you glitched. What is the question about bottlenecks? Can you be more specific?
No, I was just stating the fact that we just learn a bunch of general things, general technical skills, so that later on we could save time. Because if we don't learn those skills, we cannot progress.
Yeah, it's what yeah it's what I meant when I was saying that you have to develop those skills to be ready for creativity, because when you already know the topic well and you know the basis well, then you can start to combine what you already know to create a new thing. That's what I meant when I meant from passing from stage one, which is to know all the rules, to know all the basic skills you must know, to go to the part of being able to break the rules. And break the rules is to know when to skip certain things that used to be like general rules, like absolute rules, but then you're seeing some limitations on that, so you have to break it and to find new methods. And then when you know all of that, then you can start to make the rules, combining all the stuff that you've learned already. And that's what I summarize with the sentence: you have to learn all the skills to be ready for creativity. And okay, and now I have the question I wanted to ask you, for you. What do you think about people? Yeah, what do you think about people taking substances to yes to boost their creativity? Like, there's some people that claim that if they're under the effect of some drugs, they can be more creative. What do you think about that? Difficult question, huh?
Well, which perspective would you like me to adopt? Like Roxo Mark would say. So, which perspective would you like me to adopt? I can tell you a bunch of. Let's start with this. For example, if we're talking about in efficiency terms, we're talking about efficiency. We could say that they can be good if you understand how they work, if you did the previous work in order for them to. Yeah. So basically, it just depends on if you plan properly for the use or not.
It's a tough question, I know, but I feel like just putting yourself with something that that you said that helps you. I think it's just relying on some substance to be able to do something. Just like when you say that you're more social when you drink and alcohol, because yes, you can be more social in that moment, but then you take that substance away from you and you have no skills, you're a bit lost. And my opinion on that is that we all should be able to develop our skills over, because some people rely on that, and I think that maybe it can help you in the short run, but in the long run it's not a reliable way to do things. Okay, do you have any other questions? Because we've surpassed 25 minutes already.
I have a really important one, which we almost missed. Let's say we have 24 hours in a day, right?
Oh yeah.
So, how many hours do you spend on sleeping? Probably averaging 8 hours, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, having a good sleep schedule is always important, because there has been experiments with deprivation of sleep, and you can basically die if you don't sleep. So sleep is pretty important, because it basically summarizes what all that you've learned during the day, and your brain processes it while you sleep. So if you want to be more productive in whatever thing, then you must have a good sleep. And also, I feel that when I don't sleep, like today, or when I just came from sleeping, I'm in a low energy level. Just when we started the podcast, I was pretty sleepy. I was not active. Now, after we've developed this conversation, I force myself to put into a mental of active mental state, and then I can be more productive. I can be more creative. And now I feel like I can have my ideas coming up more quickly and more easily because I've been forcing myself. I've been trying to look for the fish of creativity, and now I'm kind of getting into the flow of the moment, and that's why I think now I'm more fluent speaking, and I'm looking less at the script that I had. What's your opinion on sleeping for creativity?
Sleeping is a crucial skill, and it should be given like a really important status on our plan. So that could be further expanded in the next episode on this podcast. It could be dedicated to sleep, and probably will. So we could start by, yeah, sure. So we could start by highlighting some
Okay.
basic advice in regard to sleeping. One would be what we talked before, just keeping a schedule. And the other one, just to make it really simple, will be taking your eyes off the screens at least 2 hours before sleep. For example, you're working online with a computer and you like to sleep, get to sleep at 10 p.m., let's say. Just force yourself to get off the computers at 8 p.m. and then get out of the house and get for a walk, for example. We're just giving you simple, really simple strategies so you can implement it right away so that they can have an effect. This solution, if applied properly and if strategized the way we intend to boost our creativity, amongst many other things, this will have long term effects on your health, on your creativity, and on like a bunch of things like the mood or some other things we don't even know the extent of. So that's some practical advice over there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as we're doing a second episode on creativity for the next day, all the things that we forget to say here, we're gonna say that day. And we're gonna also fall into reflection section where we're gonna go more deep into our lives and how did we apply creativity. So that's all that we had to do today. It's been a pleasure to have you here, Joel. And we have to cut right now. So bye and just follow us next week.